Hello, my friends. So this should be a relatively quick video, but I thought it would be interesting just to share with you kind of the evolution of something that I use a lot. So if you know my channel and you've taken a class with me or you follow me on the socials, you know that I'm a fan of the 9-card box spread, which is my go-to for just about everything. In fact, if you ever want a reading from me and you don't know which one to get, that's usually the one I suggest because it's perfect for everything. When I read for myself or I do social media readings, just, to have something to post on the gram, I will usually do just 3 cards. And I will often do, I used to do sort of like this situation. You know what I mean? I don't know why. Like, you can definitely do it. Like, whatever. But I really hate that 2 of Cups. No, it's fine. Sorry. But that sort of weirdly started evolving over the last few, I don't know, weeks, months, into kind of an arc, like this, which really didn't have any inherent meaning other than that it was just sort of an attractive shape to me. And I always tend to lay things out in that order. And then, after a while, I'll be honest, like sometimes 3 cards don't feel like enough. So I would start adding more. And so this kind of horseshoe situation definitely became a favorite that I use quite a lot, mostly for myself. So I'm going to sneeze. What was I saying? I was saying, yeah, it just, the actual shape didn't really mean anything, except that I will read pairs kind of the way you would in a Lenormand line of 5, right? So again, you don't really use an arc in Lenormand, but you would, you could lay them out the way that I just did, and then sort of your center card is your sort of focus or your theme, and then you kind of read outward, but then you can also read in different combinations. There's a Marseille spread in Jean David's book that is similar. So you lay out the cards and you read 1, 2, 3, and then 2, 3, 4, and then 3, 4, 5. But you can also read pairs and stuff too. So I will kind of do that in a spread like this. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'll obviously look at the 3 or the middle card and then the cards next to it and then the cards outward, but I'll also look at this combination of 3 and that combination of 3. So it's just been kind of an evolution of the spread, but in the last few weeks, I've noticed that I've actually started doing something even further than that. So I take it even further. I'm going to shuffle so we're not looking at the same cards. This, if you're interested, is the Unfolding Path Tarot, the mass market edition. I did not know there was an indie edition, but it's Hay House. I have a review of it, which you can definitely and should definitely check out because I'm a delight. Anyway, it's a pretty good deck for a mass market deck. I think the art's gorgeous. I think it's pretty, it's all the things that I feel like we've been asking for in modern tarot, with a couple exceptions. I think it is still pretty thin and young, but there's definitely more body and age diversity than usual, and this back is absolutely stunning. Anyway, so what I've started doing now is actually taking it full circle, literally, and so, there's our 9 of Pentacles, Eye of Swords again, so this card's haunting me today. Oh, it's so funny because that was the card that was in the last spread that prompted this video. So literally what we're doing is continuing that arc until it's a whole circle. And I'll show you sort of how you can read. I clearly did not shuffle this very well. So why do I love this? Well, for a few reasons. One is that I sometimes won't start with these. Like, I won't put them out. And if I feel like I need more or want more, which is often the case when I read for myself, I'll add these. But, so that's kind of how it started, was like more information. Like, I would want more information on these endings. And so I would draw 2 more and put them here. And then I was like, oh, what if we connected them with, another card? And then we've got lots of sexy combinations as a reader I can work with, right? So I can start with my initial theme of the reading. And again, just like as an example, this is very loose. This isn't a real reading. So my 9 of Swords here is my central sort of card surrounded by the Queen and Justice. So the Queen of Pentacles and Justice. So like this combination is really interesting because these seem really, connected. Queen of Pentacles is sort of like the facilitator of the suit of Pentacles, as I often say, like the embodiment of the suit, right? Queens embody the fullness of their suit to me. So the Queen of Pentacles is giving practicality and thoughtfulness and experience, financial responsibility, financial knowledge, All of the, like, sort of a boss, I hate the term girl boss, but, if you want to use that and you like it, like Queen of Pentacles definitely kind of giving girl boss. Justice also has a similar kind of strength. Now, to me, Justice contextually is very strange. It's one card to this day when I see it in readings. I'm often like, oh God, what do I say about this? But it does have a swords quality to it because there's almost always a sword. So there's always a link to me with swords here. But there's sort of a push and pull, a tug of war here for me between the Queen and Justice. In part because Justice is sort of severe, kind of unfeeling. I might say without the right-wing connotation that the Justice kind of has a fuck your feelings quality to it because it's not interested in objectivity. It's interested in right and wrong. And then there's the Nine of Pentacles, and I keep saying Pentacles, the Nine of Swords. And so here we get this very kind of like heavy, nines are very overworked, they're very tired. And so our communication or our intellectual, our learning something is sort of feeling heavy and overburdened. And so I start to get a picture of someone who, again, this is just an example, has actually adopted a responsibility that they think they need to carry. And what I start to get is kind of a Superman complex, by which I mean, like, I am the savior, and I am the one who has to do it, and I'm so overburdened. I have to take care of my family and my life, but I also have to be, the justice. I need to sort of serve justice, and it's just so overwhelming. Now, that would be plenty of information for a lot of readings, depending on the context, but I have more information. So now I can keep going. So I've got this whole story here, but then the Knight of Wands and the Wheel of Fortune is going to expand on that. Now, I'm not working with a question here, which you certainly could, but I think, again, one of the things that I'm kind of always interested, first of all, when I read for myself, I rarely have a question. I will often just lay out cards to see what comes up. So even though I don't really love general readings, it's a thing that I will do for myself. But also I found over the years that that's really what clients want, especially in situations where, like, I'm at a market or something like that. So I'm always kind of looking for general spreads that sort of work wonders. And I'm not saying that this is the solution. I think there's plenty of general spreads. And in fact, my 9-card box has been equally successful in that regard. But again, this does start to add more color. So now I can kind of go two ways. I can pair the Knight of Wands and the Wheel of Fortune. I can also pair the Knight of Wands, the Queen, and the Nine of Swords, and the Wheel of Fortune, the Justice, and the Nine of Swords. But I'm drawn to the way that the Knight seems to be kind of running right to the Wheel of Fortune. And this is actually giving me context too. It's saying, friend, you are very passionate about what you do, but you don't put a lot of thought into it, and you're constantly running into this chaos without a plan, and without a clear goal. You just know that you have to do it because it's the right thing to do. And so this victim mentality that I'm starting to get is actually a self-imposed thing that happens by not really applying too much thought, to justice. Now, I also see a connection between the Wheel of Fortune and justice and the idea that, like, every day something new is wrong in the world. You know what I mean? And so this Knight of Wands is coming along and saying, well, I'm going to fix it, I'm going to fix it. So we start to kind of go whack up this way. So there's this journey where we go, like, I'm running into the storm, the eye of the storm, right? Wheel of Fortune gives me eye of storm to justice, but oh my God, I'm so tired and I have to take care of family, and, like, yoink, doink, back again. So this creates a little loop. That's really interesting to me as a reader, right? So I'm getting a picture of someone who is kind of creating a martyr complex for themselves, burning themselves out, or at least making themselves mentally unwell, because they're not actually, they're all, I don't know, the ego, super ego, they're all forward, they're all motion, and they keep running into the storm of justice, but burning themselves out. So now I've got more down here at the bottom. So this might and will tell me more. So we've got the Hanged Man, in this case, in this deck it's called Hanged, Strength, and the Six of Wands. Now, how I go about this really doesn't matter. I'm going to sneeze again. Sorry. Allergies. This seems to start to tell a slightly different story for me, but related. So I'm just going to kind of follow the path that it wants me to take. And the path that it wants me to take is focused on the Hanged Man. The knight, again, sort of as this forward motion, though, seems to be running here, is kind of putting themselves in a position of the Hanged Man, of being stuck. The consequence of this action is a stuckishness. And I think in part because of this sort of Queen of Pentacles mentality, again, I'm getting kind of savior complex with this particular queen. That's not always the read for this card, right? But I'm getting it here, so it's giving me something stuck. And that makes sense, right? Because of this loop that I discovered earlier. So this is a problem, but the solution might actually be here, which is strength. Now, the strength isn't popping to me as a super important card quite yet. So I'm going to come back to it. Like, it's not immediately saying, oh, this is the solution to the problem that we've been waiting for, right? I'm drawn to the Six of Wands because of its association with victory, but also its association with beauty. Sixes are beautiful, fires creativity and passion and enthusiasm. And so this is giving me kind of an interesting thing. It's like a pendulum, like it keeps swinging back and forth. So there's a connection here if I go this way to the same cycle I talked about earlier. I want to be victorious, I'm passionate, I'm enthusiastic, I'm going to go into the chaos, right? And there's a movement associated with this card, traditionally in Waite-Smith, because it's often showing someone on a horse. In this case, it's showing someone in a wheelchair. There's forward motion associated. Forward motion into the chaos of justice, burning out, no, I get stuck. And then we come back to strength here, which is this weird sort of incongruent card here. It doesn't quite make sense to me. And that, I love when that happens, right? When there's some kind of disassociation or disconnection is a better word between a card and the rest of the spread, that tells me there's something about this card that I really need to know. And in this case, I think what it's saying is that this is breaking the cycle. Now, what does strength mean on its own? It's a pretty straightforward card to me. So it doesn't necessarily say that, like, you have to be strong and keep doing this, because I don't think that that's the answer here. But there is a connection to these two cards because they line up with each other. So one thing that it tells me is you actually do have the strength to do some important work when your mind isn't cloudy. But what do you do? So now I'm going to kind of go backwards, actually. What do I get? I get a pause here. So I have the strength to stop before I run into the chaos. And this pause, now I think of some other associations with Hanged Man that I don't usually associate, which is kind of an introspective, inner initiatory quality where we kind of go inside, right? And so what that tells me is actually the solution to here is not the strength to keep doing things that aren't working. It's the strength to stop before I run into these situations, so that I can think more clearly about them. And I don't end up stuck in this Nine of Pentacles situation. So it's about having the strength to stop before I get here, back up, think about the situation before I run into it. That way I can bring my qualities of the Queen of Pentacles into exhausting situations and all of their chaos, but still come out victorious and have the strength to do more. So in like reversing the circle and going forward in the circle, I get really cool information as a reader that I just find super fucking helpful. There are other things you can look at too. Again, I paired these two. I didn't pair these two, but I can. If we want to succeed in justice, it is a whirly game, but we have to have the strength of character and the tenacity to be thoughtful about what we do so that we stop, we don't run in, we have the strength to win. Do you know what I mean? So we can sort of pair, you could pair these, which I did. We paired these a little bit. You could read the corners. You could read these, So again, like any other sort of free-form spread, you're not limited to just like 1, 2, 3. You know what I mean? So this circle, this loop, I find so exciting as a reader. I love working with this. I have found it really useful for me. And it was just a total accident in the way that I came, to it. So I'm very excited about working with this particular spread. I think it is so useful. Again, it does what I love about the 9-card box, which is that it gives me freedom, it gives me combinations, it gives me context. It's a little less maybe intimidating than the 9 card, even though it's actually almost just as many. Like it's 8 cards. It's one short of a 9 card. You know what I mean? But still, the chaos of it may just feel less chaotic. Oh, I switched some things around. But you get the point. So anyway, I love this sort of loop. And the way that you can sort of explore all the combinations, but also how you can loop around in different ways and how different cards may have different connections. And, again, the thing that I find so useful when I'm reading in these kind of more free-form ways is that I don't ever worry that I've run out of options and still haven't gotten to the answer. Like there's always more combinations for me to check. There's always more relationships between cards. How are things moving? Who's looking where? Again, just super, super helpful in that way. So I hope this is helpful. I hope you like it. If you do, feel free to share it with me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to just give me credit and tell me how awesome I am. Just kidding. I mean, you can, for sure. So, anyway, that's the spread that's sort of evolved over the last few months that I'm really loving and thought I would share with you. Take care, be well, and hope to hear from you soon. Be good.